Alright guys, so today I'm going to explain the differences between general skill acquisition and language acquisition. So people think that learning how to type on a keyboard or learning how to fight or learning how to swim is the same as learning a language. Right? People treat learning a skill like basketball the same thing as learning a language. But the reality is learning a language for our brains are actually very different, right? Because and this is known as the language acquisition device. So, in all humans on planet Earth, we have a language acquisition software, like or device in our brains, that are specifically um, designed, right, to acquire languages, right? Specifically designed for humans to be able to acquire languages, you know, and it's different than the general skill acquisition that we use, right, for our parts of the brain. So, and the main difference between learning a language and learn how to type a keyboard or learning how to swim is if you want to learn how to swim, you have to practice swimming. If you want to learn how to type on a keyboard, you're going to have to practice the thing. You can't just watch a bunch of people swim, right, and expect yourself to swim. You can't watch a bunch of people, basically play basketball, and you can't expect yourself to just be able to play basketball. And it's the same thing. If you want to learn a certain skill, right, a certain motor skill, right, you have to practice the actual skill. Like you have to actually deliberately practice it, right? But when it comes to learning a language, we don't necessarily need to practice speaking a language. That's the difference. Because we can get fluent by just literally watching native speakers speak their language. What I mean? Well, you can literally watch a bunch of French people speak, right? Or you can basically watch a bunch of Japanese people speak to each other. And with enough exposure and enough immersion, without even speaking a word, you'll be able to comprehend. First step, you first be able to comprehend what they're saying, and after that, you'll be able to speak without ever practicing speaking. This is my experience. So I learned Japanese for it took me 2 years to get fluent in Japanese. And what I mean is I spent the first 2 years of my journey learning Japanese solely focused on input, solely focusing on reading and listening. And after those 2 years, right, I suddenly started to be able to speak. And by the way, I didn't practice speaking at all during those 2 years. I had no exposure to Japanese. I had exposure to Japanese, but I didn't practice speaking Japanese. I didn't open my mouth during those 2 years. So it's basically 2 years of silence of me not speaking, and I was just listening to people. I was just watching anime, right? And after those 2 years, I was able to finally be able to speak Japanese, right, without even trying. I was able to speak Japanese at a very high level, right off the bat, without ever speaking a single word. And this is because our brains have a language acquisition device. This is something that Dr. Stephen Krashen talks about. And also, if you guys read The Language Instinct by Dr. Steven Pinker, right? He wrote a book about this. And this is because, our brains are actually wired specifically for acquiring languages. There's a part of our brain that's specifically wired to learn languages. Whereas when it comes to learning skills, it's not the same. It's not the same device, right, in our brains. Because if you want to learn how to, if you want to learn a motor skill, if you want to learn how to type, if you want to learn how to, even talk to people, right, like what to say and all that, be social. If you want to learn how to, make videos, if you want to learn how to, swim and play a certain sport, you're going to have to practice the actual sport. You can't just watch people do gymnastics and expect yourself to do gymnastics. You're going to actually have to play the game. You're going to actually have to, practice swimming and actually do the thing. But when it comes to languages, we don't need to actually speak, right? We can speak the language automatically by just getting in enough immersion, by listening to native speakers speak the language. We can literally watch French people speak with we can watch French people speak with each other, and after long enough time, we will also be able to do the same thing and speak, right? And that's the difference between general skill acquisition and language acquisition. Is just the fact that we can learn languages just by listening.